Like the first time I did it, I couldn't really believe I did it. They've tried to portray me like I was some kind of a creature, right? I was just like everybody else out there. Probably 99.9% of the time, I'm as normal as he is or anybody else is. But there's that 1% of the time or whatever that there's some kind of a problem.
A 17-year-old girl, blindfolded, tied up, locked inside the apartment of an active serial killer. And yet, she was the one who brought him down. Not the police, not the FBI, not the dozens of investigators who had been hunting him for months. A teenager who worked at a Krispy Kreme. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of Bobby Joe Long, a man who murdered 10 women in 8 months, who raped more than 50 before that, and who was only caught because he made the mistake of letting someone go who should never have survived. Stay until the end, because the story of how he was caught is more incredible than anything you could imagine.
Before we talk about the crimes, I need you to understand something. Bobby Joe Long didn't come out of nowhere. He was built, piece by piece, over decades. He was born on October 14, 1953, in Canova, West Virginia, a small town, a family that was already broken from the start. His parents separated when he was 2 years old, and that's where it all began. Bobby went to live with his mother, Luella, a woman who worked as a cocktail waitress at a bar, who wore revealing clothes, who constantly brought men home. And here's what makes this disturbing. Bobby and his mother shared a bed until he was 13 years old. Think about that. A child watching strangers parade through his room, sleeping in the same bed as his mother, with no model of what a healthy relationship looked like. The experts who later studied his case said that environment was a defining factor. Long himself used it as an explanation, though not an excuse, for the hatred he developed toward women. But that wasn't all. Bobby Joe Long was born with something that made him different from day one. A genetic condition called Klinefelter syndrome, an extra X chromosome known as 47XXY. One of the rarest genetic conditions that exists, and the effect it had on him was brutal. During puberty, Long developed breasts, real breasts, because of the excess estrogen his body was producing. He became a permanent target for bullying at school, and at 16, he had to undergo surgery to have the breast tissue removed. 6 pounds of tissue. Add that to the family dysfunction, and you have someone with a shattered self-image and a toxic relationship with his own identity.
And the head injuries. Literally. At age 5, he fell off a swing and lost consciousness. At 6, he crashed his bike into a parked car. Severe concussion, lost teeth. At 7, he fell off a pony directly onto his head. 3 serious head traumas before the age of 8. We now know that damage to the frontal lobe, the part of the brain that regulates impulse control, can be linked to violent behavior. That's not an excuse, but it's a fact the forensic experts didn't ignore. And then came the accident that finally broke him. As an adult, already married with 2 kids, Long suffered a serious motorcycle crash while in the Army. He nearly lost a leg. And when he got out of the hospital, he was a different person. He said it himself. He became hypersexual overnight. He was having sex with his wife twice a day, and it still wasn't enough. His wife, Cindy, recalled years later that the violence inside the marriage kept escalating with no end in sight. In one incident, Long grabbed her by the throat and slammed her head into the TV set until she lost consciousness. They divorced in 1980.
and Bobby Joe Long was left alone with all that rage and no one to stop him. What I'm about to tell you is the part of this case that most people don't know about. Because before he became a killer, Long had already spent years as one of the most prolific rapists in Florida. And he did it with a method that is chilling in how calculated it was. The classifieds. Newspapers in the 80s were full of ads from people selling secondhand stuff. Appliances, furniture, clothes. Long would read them carefully, call pretending to be interested, set up a visit. And when he showed up at the house, he'd assess the situation. Was the husband home? He'd say he wasn't interested and leave. Was the woman alone? He'd pull out a knife, tie her up, rape her, and disappear. He did this between 1981 and 1983 in Fort Lauderdale, Ocala, Miami, and Dade County. More than 50 times. 50 that we know of. In one of those attacks, there were 2 children in the house while it happened. One of them was critically ill. The woman survived. Her daughter died 9 months later. That family carried 2 traumas at the same time. But here's the part that makes all of this even more unacceptable. In 1981, Long was arrested, tried, and convicted of rape. They had him. He'd been caught. He appealed and was acquitted. Free to keep going. And what he did next was far worse, because rape wasn't enough anymore. 1984, Tampa, Florida. Long had moved to the city that year, and he had a new hunting method. Every night, he'd get in his '78 red Dodge Magnum, drive up and down Nebraska Avenue, a street packed with bars, clubs, and sex workers. He was looking for young women, small, vulnerable, alone. The first confirmed victim was Artis Wick, 20 years old, March 27, 1984. After that, the bodies started turning up. Nguyen Thi Peggy Long, 19 years old, found in a field on May 13th. Michelle Sims, 22. She had worked as a model. Elizabeth Loudenbach, Chanel Devon Williams. Karen Dinsfriend, found in an orange grove, strangled and beaten. Kimberly Kyle Hops. Virginia Johnson, 18 years old. Kim Swan, 21. And more. All between 18 and 28 years old. All petite women. Most last seen walking alone at night or leaving a bar or a club. The pattern was almost identical every time. He'd abduct them, tie them with a specific knot he had perfected himself, sexually assault them, kill them, strangulation, bludgeoning, or slitting their throats. And then he'd pose the bodies in a particular way, legs at a specific angle, like he was leaving a signature. Tampa went into a panic. Women stopped going out alone at night. Businesses in that area started emptying out. Mothers changed their daughters' routines. It was a real collective fear that paralyzed an entire city. Law enforcement knew it. The Hillsborough Sheriff's Office, the Tampa PD, and the FBI were working together across 3 counties at the same time. And they had one lead. Red fibers. Microscopic, nearly invisible, but present on every single victim. Every single one. They were carpet fibers. Red carpet. Someone with a red carpet in their car was killing women in Tampa. They had the killer's signature. They just didn't have the killer.
until November 1984.
I need you to stop for a second here, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just the most important part of the case. It's one of the most extraordinary survival stories in American true crime. Lisa McVey was 17 years old in November 1984. She worked the night shift at a Krispy Kreme in Tampa, and her life at home was already hard. She had suffered abuse for years. She was a girl who already knew what fear felt like, who already knew what it meant to survive in a hostile environment. On November 3rd, at 2:30 in the morning, Lisa left her shift. She got on her bike to ride home. And somewhere along the way, the red Dodge Magnum pulled up beside her. Bobby Joe Long dragged her inside the car. What happened over the next 26 hours was a nightmare.
He blindfolded her, tied her up, took her to his apartment, raped her repeatedly. But Lisa McVey did not shut down. Despite the blindfold, despite the terror, despite not being able to see a single thing, her mind was working the whole time. She counted the steps inside the apartment. She felt the texture of the carpet under her feet. It was red. She touched everything she could to leave her fingerprints. She was menstruating and left blood on the backseat of the car. She heard the sound of an ATM when Long took her to make a transaction. She memorized the approximate location of the house.
And then she did something that required a kind of courage most people don't understand. She tried to connect with him. She listened to him talk. She asked him why he had done this. He said he hated women. She kept listening. She showed him empathy. And in one strange, almost surreal moment, Long washed and brushed her hair in his bathroom. In that moment, Lisa made up a story. She told him her father was very sick, that she was the only one who could take care of him. And Bobby Joe Long let her go. As he dropped her off on the street, he told her, "Tell your father he's the reason I didn't kill you." Lisa made it home. She told her grandmother what had happened.
Her grandmother didn't believe her. She went to the police. The detective who took her statement didn't believe her either. But Lisa didn't back down. She didn't change her story. She didn't give up. And when investigators examined her clothing, they found red fibers. The same fibers they had found on every single murder victim. Everything clicked into place. Police set up surveillance in the area Lisa had described. Days later, the red Dodge Magnum appeared. On November 16th, 1984, just 13 days after the abduction, Bobby Joe Long was arrested in the parking lot of a movie theater in Tampa.
When interrogated, he confessed everything. All 10 murders, more than 50 rapes. He said he didn't understand why he had done it, that it was like a switch that flipped on. His exact words about the killings were, "It was like A, B, C, D. I pull over, they get in, and that was it." No remorse, no real explanation. The trial was in 1985. Long pleaded guilty to 8 murders and all the crimes against Lisa McVey. He received 26 life sentences. And the following year, in 1986, he was sentenced to death for the murder of Michelle Sims. He spent 35 years on death row. 35 years of appeals, of legal motions, of execution dates that kept getting pushed back. On April 23, 2019, Florida's newly elected governor, Ron DeSantis, signed Bobby Joe Long's death warrant. It was one of the first he signed after taking office. On May 23, 2019,
Bobby Joe Long was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. He was 65 years old. He had no last words. He closed his eyes as the procedure began. And among the witnesses in that room was Lisa McVey, sitting in the front row. She said, "I wanted to look him in the eye. I wanted to be the first person he saw. Unfortunately, he didn't open them." Today, Lisa McVey Noland is a deputy at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, the same department that investigated Bobby Joe Long's crimes, the same one that initially didn't believe her. And she has spent her life protecting others.
Every time I research a case like this, I end up with the same question. How many times did the system have the chance to stop Bobby Joe Long? In 1981, he was convicted of rape. They let him go. He kept going. In 1983, he was arrested for sending sexual material to a 12-year-old girl. A short sentence, probation. He kept going. 10 women died after that. The case of Bobby Joe Long is a portrait of how systems fail. The genetics, the trauma, the dysfunctional childhood, all of that is part of the story. But so are the decisions made by people who had the chance to act and didn't. And in the middle of all of it, there's a 17-year-old girl who did what no one else could.
Lisa McVey didn't survive in spite of her past. She survived because of it. Everything she had suffered before had prepared her, without her knowing it, for that exact moment. And when no one believed her, she didn't give up. That's what stopped Bobby Joe Long. Not technology, not FBI resources. A girl who refused to quit. If you made it this far, leave a like. It genuinely helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell, because I have more cases like this one coming. Same level of depth, same respect for the victims. And if you want to keep going with this kind of story, the next video I'd recommend is the Candyman Killer. I'll see you there.